everybody. Hello, hello. Look who's here.
Hi.
So welcome everybody to today's Live at Lunch. I'm excited because we're going to be talking all about Coutures today. And we have Claire with us all the way from England. Claire is our designer. So, and I think that like rainbows exist in your head. Like it's just, and you know, that's my favorite color is rainbow. So,
well, whenever
yeah.
I see a rainbow, I just think of you, Gina, because it is my thing. And yeah, quite a lot of the time I have rainbows and colour and candy floss and all of that in my head. I've had some lovely images sent to me from boutique partners saying, I think this is what Claire's brain looks like. And it's this explosion of colour and pattern. And yeah, that's if I'm in design mode, that's where I'm at.
Love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to hop right into it because I know a lot of people are joining us over the lunch hour and we have a lot of things to share today. But because we're talking about Coutures today, Claire, I would love to know if you can share with all of our friends that are joining us here live. And if you're joining us, don't forget to share and let other people know that we're live at lunch today. So thanks for helping us get the word out. But Claire, what is the difference between Swarovski crystals and like other kinds of crystals that that are maybe used in jewelry?
So with Swarovski, it's such a well-recognized sort of brand name, and there's reason behind that because they are a very special crystal. The major sort of difference really is how they're cut and how many facets are actually in the crystal. So in our standard sort of dots that we do, we use a check crystal, and those crystals have about 20 facets in them. Whereas when you look at a Swarovski crystal, that has about 29 facets. And then to give you an idea, when you sort of take that into really fine jewelry and cut stones like a diamond, has 58 facets. And why you want more facets is how the light reflects through the cuts in the stone, because the more facets you have, the more light goes in and there are more surfaces for the light to sort of reflect out. So that's why sort of when you look at a Swarovski crystal, it does look more glittery and more sparkly and sort of has that glitter to it because it has the more facets in it.
So there's more surfaces for the light to reflect back out at you and all of that. So
yeah, and when you have a sort of like cluster of crystals together, you know, the light hits from one to another to another. So again, that sort of creates that blaze of glitter as well, sort of with the crystals. So, you know, you get that sort of splendid, glamorous look coming out from the Coutures.
Very cool. Okay, so one of the things that I would, because hello, if rainbow is my favorite color. So one of the things that I know that we've kind of dealt with a little bit is that not every Swarovski color, because there's like 60 of them or something, Claire, not every Swarovski color is necessarily available to us, because we've got like a little chart of the Swarovskis that our manufacturer works with. And there's been times when we're like, we really want to use Papardasha or whatever, I think I'm pronouncing it correct. It's kind of a coral color. And we've had to actually like, they've imported it special just for us. So I wanted to show this to all of our friends because this is what you use like when you're looking at all the different options. We have 40 to choose from. And so it goes all the way from whites through pinks, purples, reds, oranges and yellows, greens, blue. It's like there's the rainbow. So those are the 40 different crystal colors that we primarily work from when you're designing, right? When you're designing these Coutures. But one of the things that I would love for you to also explain, because this is amazing to me when you're looking at every Couture and the value that's in it. Talk to us about the difference between when you design a regular dot, let's say, and when you design a Couture.
Okay, so in terms of sort of designing, it depends sort of what I'm designing, sort of where I start. So sometimes I always have a notebook beside me, and everybody sort of knows that I have that. I'm always scribbling away, and sometimes it is notes from a meeting, or sometimes I might just have that inspiration to sort of jot something down on paper. So sometimes it could be a quick biro sketch that I would start. I might have an idea of something that I would quickly draw down. But if I'm in proper design mode, then I will sort of get a clean piece of white paper and a pencil, and I do sort of sit down and do hand sketches. And with the Coutures, because it's sort of more about, it's about sort of pattern that I look at, as well as sort of our main dots as well. But because it is about sort of putting all that combination of crystal and colour together,
yeah,
I like to be able to sort of get that pattern drawn down on paper with sort of pencil first. So that I can get those ideas sort of down on paper. So recently I've just done a new batch of Coutures, and I must have sort of drawn down maybe 20 different patterns that I wanted to explore, because sometimes you draw them down on paper and then you think, well, actually, I don't think that's going to work. So it gives me sort of, so I can just sort of empty my brain onto the paper and then look at that and think, okay, where am I going to go from here? I sometimes do that sort of with other dots as well. But with the other dots, there's sort of more elements as well, because I'm looking at sort of metal content and, sort of leaving, there might be a raised design, I'm using enamel. So it's slightly different sort of designing. Whereas with the Coutures, because it's full of crystals and the little tiny beads, it's sort of more labour intensive and about pattern. So to give you an idea, to design a statement couture dot takes me an hour. Just one will take me an hour.
Because you're actually going in and individually saying, you know what I mean? This is where I think every single crystal should go, and by color. And typically what happens then is after Claire's designed them, she'll send them to me, and I'll get this whole long list of, here's all the designs that I came up with. And then she and I will kind of go through and decide from there what to send off to actually have sampled. So we're going from 20 sketched designs to, I feel like this last batch, we narrowed it down to how many?
I think there were maybe eight or 10 different designs
that we sent off, but in multiple colors. Each design we had them do in a couple, 3 different colors. Yeah. So it's kind of this gradually, by the time a couture comes to market, like it's lived through several selection processes.
Yeah, definitely. And, we're very lucky that our supplier is amazing at interpreting my CAD computer designs to the physical item. And that's the most wonderful sort of experience, really, that I have sort of sat there for an hour. And when I do those designs, to give you every single on a standard couture, the little crystals are 1.5 millimeters round. And then if you've got a beaded detail on there, those tiny beads, 0.4 millimeters round. So, but every single one in that design I've placed graphically onto the design. But to then sort of, I've seen it visually and flat on the screen, but then to see the actual physical thing is amazing. I've been in the jewelry industry for 25 years, and still that process I love.
It never gets old.
No, it always is lovely, to then see, and I've had this idea in my head to then see it in the physical item. That transition is amazing.
Yeah. So we have a question. We have a question from the audience. This is another new fun thing that we're doing. So Dare has asked, Claire, what is your favorite couture?
Oh,
I don't know the answer to this, so I'm kind of excited to hear what your favorite couture is also, because
I think that's really difficult. Visually, I love the rainbow pinwheel. Okay. Just because I do like colour, and it's more of a visual thing to me. Interesting, I don't wear it very often, but visually to look at, I just think it's lovely, because I like seeing all the colours of crystals and that array. So I think probably that the rainbow pinwheel is my favourite one.
Yeah, I love that one too. I love that it goes with so many things.
the new ones that I've designed, I think they're going to be a lot there that I love as well.
Okay. I was almost like, don't give out like what's coming in February, or I was like, because we have some new things that are coming with the new catalog, and so I was like, don't give that away, Claire. So we'll save that for later. But thanks for the question so much. Thanks so much for the question, Dare. So let's talk now about, because the couture thing kind of leads into this month's Hostess exclusive. And I think there's a lot of unique things about this month's Hostess exclusive that I would love to kind of have you touch on. So I'll have them show you what it is on the screen, or show everybody what it is on the screen. But what was your thought behind designing the January Hostess exclusive?
So I think, sort of to start with, we have been trying to introduce some new shapes in Swarovski crystals. So we tend to have sort of used the rounds shapes sort of consistently, but we just thought, actually, you know, Swarovski do lots of other shapes as well, so that sort of they do ovals, squares, hearts, and the marquise shape as well. So I thought, well, that would be great if I can sort of introduce some of those new shapes. So that's really where the design starting point was for this one. And I decided that sort of it'd be nice, because they sort of petal shapes, to actually sort of put that, and they work very well in the round shape, and where you place them, sort of it works well to sit in the round shape. So really it sort of spun from there. To place those in. So how I came up with that design, I actually put the marquise in first and then built the design around that. So you've got your sort of the handmade dichroic in the center, and then it sort of feeds off from there. I also wanted to get that ombre effect of color. So as you can see now, it sort of goes from the dark color in the center out and goes lighter. So you've got amethyst in the center in that sort of 4-petal shape in the middle, then going on to tanzanite, there's violet, and then in the little bits on the edge, that's actually amethyst AB. So you've got that sort of AB finish there. And I love that sort of focal point in the center, and it feeds out the color sort of on the outside. So I always think that ombre effect is just stunning, and use of that graded color, and I just think it works really well.
Yeah, and I love that you did it in kind of, there's this floral pattern to begin with, and then it goes out from there. It's kind of a new design element that you've brought to kind of that ombre color effect. I think that for me, I was so excited about this because I feel like we've had so many requests for a purple couture, but I have a hard time because typically with purples, I'm thinking more of like that regal purple, that royal purple that's kind of brighter, and that doesn't really exist. That color doesn't exist in Swarovski crystals that we've seen. So, so I love that you kind of made something feel really regally, and it definitely feels purple because you've used this ombre across all of these different kind of purple shades. It's hard. I think amethysts are really hard for us to work with because they're so dark. You don't get as much reflection back out of it. So you're adding these lighter colors, and the AB crystals on the outside, I think really, and especially those new marquee crystals, I think have really just kind of taken it to a whole other level. So good on you, Claire. Good job.
And also with the marquise, you know, we were saying that we have a selection sort of in the round crystals of about 40 different colors that we can choose from. When it comes to the different shapes, we're even more limited on the colors that we can get. You know, it's what's available to us on the market to get those colors. So sort of with those shapes, we're probably limited to maybe 10 or 12 colors. So also that's sort of a color vehicle, and why, you know, I chose the violet in those shapes. So then I then pick the other colors to sit with that. Yeah,
I feel like it really makes it more vibrant, adding those shades and everything. So anyway, thank you. Jimmy Krieger says, love this. So regal for a queen. So yeah, that's what I mean by regal purple. Is I'm thinking of, I think that I love English period history and all of that more than Claire does, and she's British, so she's from England. I'm always like, Claire, watch the new episode. She's like, I think.
Well, I hadn't watched The Crown until Gina told me about it, so I thought I've got to watch it because Gina and Karen know more about our monarchy than I do. So I thought I've got to watch this program so I know what they're talking about. But now we've watched the whole thing, so I know. I sort of know. I did know, but yeah.
Yeah, Karen and I were joking with Claire the other day, and I was like, if we ever meet the Queen, we know exactly what to do. And I was thinking, well, I'm gonna curtsy, and Karen was like, no, we don't need to curtsy to her anymore because we're in the United States, so we're not one of her subjects or whatever. I don't know what the word is to call that. So, but I'm like, well, I would curtsy, I think, just because I think that would be fun. So anyway,
Karen said you would go and shake her hand, and I said, no, you can't. You're not allowed to shake her hand. You're not allowed to go up to her.
I'm like, I just give her a big hug, and Claire and Karen are like, no, you can't do that. So, Julie, thank you so much for your comment on how much you're loving this new couture. So, Claire, can you talk a little bit about the manufacturing side of it? Because I feel we had a chance, we weren't able to. Our manufacturer wants us to come and actually tour their factory, but hello, stupid COVID. Like nobody's traveling. We're not traveling right now. But that tour that they did when they walked us through the factory and they showed samples being made and all of the things, I was blown away by that, because it was a fun little kind of behind the scenes look at all that it takes, you know what I mean, to create one of these. So what were some of your takeaways from that tour that we got to do online of the factory?
So I think sort of initially, I just, for me, that because I've designed them and, I've seen factories and seen jewelry being made, but sort of the coutures are so special. And to see that I've sort of spent an hour placing graphic crystals onto the screen to then see, they have a master sort of artisan lady that does the sampling for us. She's sort of their top lady. And, literally she was sat there doing exactly the same as I had done, but physically. So how our couture's made, we send them the dot bases. So they're an empty base that just have sort of a little edge rim going around the edge, and they fill that with a coloured putty. So, and that putty can be made in any colour. So they do come in standard colours, but then they can add dyes to them so that we can get colours to come close to what we want and to match the crystals that we've chosen. So she will then fill that base with the putty. And then she is surrounded by piles of crystals. So the colours that I put in my design, she's got little piles all around her of all those colours. And she literally sits there and she places them individually, one at a time, into the putty. But no, I can take as long as I like designing one, and it takes me about an hour to design one. She literally has 40 minutes to place all of those crystals into the putty before the putty dries out too much and that the crystals won't set into the putty. And that was
Which is too much pressure for me. Yeah. Can I just tell you, I would be like, the perfectionist in me would come out, and I would want to be doing it all like correctly. And so then adding in that, I only have so much time. It's a whole different level of diamond art. Yeah, go ahead.
And she was so fast. She was amazing, to see her sit there, just putting them in and just so quick. And I think that was the major takeaway from me, is that the speed of how fast she did it, but perfectly, sort of from my design sheet, she had done exactly into the putty. So that was a major thing that I thought was brilliant. And then I think my other takeaway is that, so she's made the master sample And generally they'll make a sort of a few, so they have those sort of special samples in front of them. And then when it goes to production, they have a team of ladies that actually work from home. So they get supplied the bases and the crystals, and they take that away and work from home, so they can continue looking after their children and their family, but also bring an income into their family. And I just thought that's really amazing that, you know, from what I'm designing and sort of then making the samples, we're actually giving work to women that probably couldn't work anywhere, because they needed to look after their children as well. So I think that was an amazing thing as well, that we're providing an income for those women that couldn't work otherwise. So I thought that was a special thing. And, you know, that, and every couture that you sort of buy, you're sort of giving something back to those women as well. So I thought that was a great thing to see.
Yeah. So Michaela's asking, how many crystals are in a typical couture? And I'm having a hard time answering this, just because I feel like, because they're working with putty, there's a different amount of surface sometimes. So I think there can be some, because they're handmade, there's some variance there, right? In exactly how many crystals are on each one. But can you give us kind of a rough guesstimate of, when you're designing those statements, about how many crystals do you feel like
you're probably looking at 150, 170 crystals, something like that. But it does depend on the design. So, for example, you know, if you're bringing in other shapes, like the marquee or a square, that fills up more space, so you'll get less of the rounds going in. And also with the beading that you put in as well, that takes up more space, so you'll get less crystals there. So it's very design dependent on how many crystals go into each one. And, you know, with the dichroic going in the center, sometimes that size varies as well. So it's sort of, there isn't a definite sort of amount of crystals
like
that go
number.
I
feel like, because they're handmade and they're using so many, like, additionally handmade elements, so the amount of putty that goes in can vary a little bit. The size, like you said, the size of the dichroic can vary a little bit. So with all of those handmade features or handmade elements that are all going into a couture, I feel like there's while we, you know, when we try to have them all be totally matching, it's because they're handmade, there's always going to be, there could be a little bit of variance here and there. One of the things that I was so impressed with and amazed me when we were talking with them about this is kind of the quality control that exists on their end before they even ship them out. Because I know kind of what we're doing quality control wise with magnifying glasses, and before we ship them, we're looking to make sure all the crystals are in place. But they also have quality control that's in place. And I thought that was an amazing, kind of interesting thing that I learned when we did the tour.
Yeah, definitely. And they have sort of a designated sort of team that do their quality control. And not only do they look at to make sure that the pattern is correct from sort of what we've ordered, to make sure that, you know, that the design is correct and that the pattern is there, they actually make sure that all the crystals are actually securely in the putty. So they have a special sort of metal tool that they rub over the top of the couture to make sure that there is no movement of any of those beads or crystals or stones, so that it's all safely in there. So their quality control is really strict. And we know that they have about a 3 to 4% reject rate. So, you know, we might sort of order a volume of coutures, but then, you know, they sort of make more than that because they know that there are going to be some that are going to be rejected. So I think that's interesting as well, that they're really strict on that. And then we also do our own quality control at the warehouse as well. So I think that sort of process is amazing, you know, that there are so many checks along the way.
Yeah. So so everything that we've shared, I feel like really goes into the value. Coutures are our most expensive dots, but now you understand kind of where that expense comes in. So normally a statement couture is $52.95. and the original Coutures are $27.95, which means that this set has a retail value of over $100. It's like $108. But when we have something like this that we've put together specially for our hostesses, that's the only way that you can get it. And I'll talk to you about that more here in a second. But the price of this set this month, while supplies last, is $49.95. So you have to have a $250 social. But these days we have gals that are doing that online and doing, getting together with a couple girlfriends in a Zoom or something like that and doing kind of, so we've really pivoted, I think, to be able to really help hostesses continue to earn the hostess rewards, even though we're kind of in the middle of COVID and all of that. So $49.95, that's a great, that's less than the price of just the statement dot. So it's like you're getting the statement on sale, plus you're getting 2 free originals that match it. So that's
it's
that. These matching Karen, like, we're doing what? So, yay. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to do, Claire, was kind of give them some ideas of, and kind of use my dot vision, but give them some ideas of different things that they could wear, different dots that maybe would go with that set. So the first thing that I want to do is, I'm going to put dot vision on. But so this is actually that couture in the bling necklace. So there's the bling necklace, but then there it is kind of all up close. And you can see as I'm moving it, even those amethyst crystals, which are a little bit darker, are still totally reflecting back, and you're catching the light on that. So that's
what I love about that dot in the bling necklace is it just frames it, because it's sort of the clear crystal around the outside. I think that just sort of the color just lifts off that necklace. It looks amazing.
Yeah. And then here is also in the bling. This is one of the bling earrings. So there's the original, and it's got a little bit of that floral pattern, but not quite as much. You can't do as much with an original dot, but you can see there all the different colors that are kind of those shades of purple that are reflecting back. And then Claire, one of the things that I wanted to show them, and I was going to kind of build it as we go here, but so I put that original dot in the 3-dot classic bracelet so that I could kind of give them ideas of, here's other purple dots that you could wear with it and what that's going to look like. So I'll start with the amethyst couture, Claire, and that way I'll let you kind of talk on that.
Okay, so you can see that it's picking up. That's what is so lovely about this, is because you've got the combination of sort of those violet and amethyst colors in the center couture. It then picks up the colors, the amethyst color of the birthstone amethyst couture next to it. And I think that sort of combination, and I think, but if you then put a different dot next to it, it picks up a different color as well.
Yeah, so let me show you how that happens, because I'm like, what in the world? Like, that just totally, I've got all my little purple dots here right next to us. So I love
the use of using AB crystals. I think that aids to them being able to add different colors. So, and that's the druzy there. And again, it's picking up that violet color beautifully. And works really well, because the druzy has that glitter to it as well. So I think you've got that sort of combination. I love that difference of surface.
Yeah.
The crunchy crystalness of the druzy and then the faceted of the crystals in the couture.
Yeah.
Really well.
Robin Courtney says that it's perfect for February babies, right? So if you've got, if amethyst is your birthstone, then this is a great option. Okay, so then here's another option, Claire. So here I've used, that's maybe a little bit more affordable, because this is just a classically priced original dot. That's the amethyst solitaire. So you could do those two.
I think that works again really well. And I think because it's sort of you've got a wider surface area on the solitaire in that amethyst color, you see the true color then of the amethyst. And I think what it does is, I think your eyes are very good at sort of picking up color and then translating that and picking up those amethyst crystals in the couture. So having that combination there, I think it makes it look more purple.
Yeah. And then here it is. This is actually with an AB, a purple AB crystal.
Yeah, so that, again, you know, the combination works so well together. And I think you've got sort of little highlights of crystal in there that I think picks up the silver balls in the couture. So the combination is great.
And then I've got one more that I wanted to kind of show everybody because it has a dichroic in the center. I think that pairing it up with our purple dichroic also works really well, because there you're pulling multiple shades of purple.
And I think the lovely thing with the dichroics is the way, whatever way you turn them, they pick up different colors. I think because of the foil underneath, it does, you know, sort of whatever lighting you're in, it sort of can change color. And then it sort of with the foil next to it. So that works really well.
Yep. So yay. Okay, let me see. I don't know if we have any other questions. Was there anything that we missed? So before we
there's one sort of couple of things that I wanted to mention in terms of sort of design, because when you were showing the dots and the couture, and you can see that the couture has that dome of putty on it. So our statement dots are 30 millimeters round. But when I actually design them, because they're not flat, the designs that I do are slightly larger than that. So when I'm sort of working on screen, I sort of put an initial disc up there of 35 millimeters.
Okay.
Because I've got to take into account that there's a dome there, so it's going to cover more space. So it means I add more crystals. So by the time sort of my flat design is then raised up and they've done the physical thing, it then comes down to the correct size. So I think, you know, I have to think about things like that when I'm designing, to make sure that I'm putting the right combination in, so and then will work physically.
So we're almost giving a more design space, almost like when you print and you have a bleed that goes to the edges. You're almost having to do something like that when you're designing these coutures. Is I'm going to give you more than you need, so you're not trying to fill in and figure out what is she want me to do around this edge. It's awesome. Very cool.
And then the other point, just as an interesting point about Swarovski crystals, and I've seen the packets that they come in, because they are so special Swarovski, when you order them from Swarovski, they come in a special envelope. And it's the same style of envelope actually that diamonds come in when you sort of order diamonds, and it's sort of specially folded so that no crystals fall out of this packet, but they're sealed, so they're a special sort of envelope. And Swarovski sell them in what's called a gross, and within that, and it's their measurement that they sell their bulk crystals in, and that gross is 1,440 crystals. Why it's that amount, I don't know. But they are beautiful. When you see them en masse like that, and you open up this packet, and literally there's just this whole pile of beautiful, glittering shine. It's just amazing. So to have that, but that's again why they're so special. They come in these sealed packets, and that's how our suppliers get them in as well. And you know, when we've had sort of had to get bespoke colors sort of imported in for them and things like that, you know, that's how they come. They arrive like that, so that we know that they are Swarovski crystal.
Yeah.
So it's
amazing, because not every manufacturer is approved to use Swarovski crystals. So I think there's several things in place to make sure that it's good. Yeah,
very much so. And you know, Swarovski crystals are made out of the finest Austrian crystal. And they're the machine there's a machine that is designed to cut them perfectly. So every angle and position of those facets are bespoke to a Swarovski crystal. So
Yeah.
they're so unique. And that's why sort of the price point of our Coutures are, that's where the
What they
value
are.
is, because
Yeah.
we're using Swarovski crystals in there.
So if, here's what we would love for you to do. If you're like, fell in love with the purple couture set, reach out to your boutique partner and let her know that you're wanting to host here in January. It's not too late. And that you want to get one of those, and then they will work with you to do that. So reach out to your boutique partner. If you don't have a boutique partner, then you can certainly message us, and we'll put you in touch with a boutique partner to help you earn that gorgeous purple couture set that's the Hostess exclusive this month. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Claire, for taking time out. It's like 6 hours later for her. So we're going into the dinner hour here on Thursday. But thank you for taking time and going through all that detail, because I think that it just, knowing all of that adds, it speaks to the value of our couture collection. So thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure. And I love sort of being able to sort of throw out my knowledge there so that people know. And I sort of take it for granted that I know all of this information, but not everybody does. So it's lovely to be able to sort of explain things and talk about how I design and all the technicalities that go into it. So it's good to partake the knowledge.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on tonight's Live at Lunch. And I'll see you next Tuesday on our next Style Dots Live. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.